are 50,000 reasons why I support WXPN. 50,000? I wonder what that means.
That means I just got word, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
People upstairs.
children of all ages. Let me
Cats
tell
and
you
dogs.
that we had a challenge this morning, Robert Dre. We found out about from Oak Tree Family Fund and Stuart and Jackie in Huntington Valley said they would give us $50,000 if we could get 1,000 donors, and we just went over. Yes, the 1,000 donor.
These claps
list.
are for you.
Yeah, they sure are. That's outstanding. Wow. I mean, we've been here before, Robert. You and I.
Quite often.
Challenges.
But this was a huge one.
The biggest
the biggest challenge
we ever. It wasn't just us, by the way. This started at 8 o'clock this morning.
Us as in XPN.
This is us as in XPN. That's right. It just wasn't me and you. Everybody really came through. Our whole staff. Everybody upstairs. Thank you so much.
I gotta say, when I woke up this morning and I heard Kristen announce the fact that they were doing this challenge, I actually thought to myself, that's a big one. I don't know if we're going to be able to click 1,000 donors in one day. That's a lot of people to step up because, as you all know, as a member of the radio station, 1 in 10 support the station. And so that's a lot of people we have to convince to jump on. And you did it. You guys jumped on and supported the station. So you made us open that $50,000 gift, and that's going to go right back into your favorite radio station. And we are so excited to take that money and put it right back into use.
Yeah, all the thank yous that we're giving, to our team here at XPN, and everybody deserves a thank you. By the way, thanks to everybody here. The biggest thank you has to go to our listeners and our members and people who contributed, who heeded the call, stepped up, and helped us out here. It's always overwhelming. This one's been particularly overwhelming, and Robert and I can speak for the entire WXPN staff in saying thank you so much to Oak Tree Family Fund. Thank you so much to Stuart and Jackie in Huntington Valley. And most importantly, thank you so much to everybody who listens to and supports WXPN. We love you guys very much. You make it possible for us to do what we do. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Kids Corner starts now on XPN.
This is 88.5 WXPN HD1 Philadelphia, 88.7 WXPH HD1 Middletown, 91.9 WXPJ HD1 Hackettstown, 90.5 WKHS Wharton, and streaming at xpn.org. Member-supported radio from the University of Pennsylvania.
Friends Central School supports XPN, offering Nature Nursery, a largely outdoor-based, full-day program where learning happens in the woods, gardens, and classrooms of Friends Central's 18-acre campus. Nature Nursery aims to create a stimulating and nurturing environment with lessons on friendship, math, art, and science. More details at friendscentral.org. We go further.
It's Kids Corner. I'm Kathy O'Connell, and joining me in the Kids Corner studio is the creator of the American Heroes CD series, Jonathan Sprout. Welcome, my old friend.
Oh, hi, Kathy. So great to be here with you.
It is so great to have you here, and I know you're going to perform some of your songs from the series. We're going to hear some songs from the series. I keep saying the series. There are 4 so far in the American Heroes series.
Yes, 4 albums.
And you cover such a wide range of figures in American history. Jackie Robinson to George Washington to Samantha Smith to Harriet Tubman to it's and there's an excitement about people in general, the people who created history that comes across in your CDs. Can you talk a little bit about that, about your excitement that kind of led you there?
Yes, people often think I have a background in history, but my background is psychology. And you're exactly right. It's the people who inspired the whole process of studying heroes for me, and the character that means a lot more to me than the quote history. I've become a lover of history, but it all started with my passion for people and characteristics, and learning that route, and sort of deciding there was a lot more value in learning about somebody who was honest, like Abraham Lincoln, and learning more about the quality of honesty through Abraham Lincoln, rather than just having somebody tell me, you should be honest. Why? Well, because with Abraham Lincoln, certain things worked better because he was honest. So anyway, the whole thing it's been more of a psychological journey for me than a historical journey. So it all started that way.
What I love too is you have created such a resource for students, but also for teachers and for librarians. And there are many songs in the series about the presidents. You must have learned an awful lot in your journey through this.
I have Mount Rushmore covered.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, wait. Okay, TR,
right?
Washington,
right?
Lincoln, Jefferson.
That's it.
Too.
Yeah. And it's funny because I went to Mount Rushmore after I'd done Lincoln, and it was research I had to see and had to learn about Gutzon Borglum, the guy who I could be writing about also, the sculptor who made Mount Rushmore.
I've got another one for you. Luigi Del Bianco, his assistant, whose grandson, Lou Del Bianco, is a kids performer.
Yeah, I know Lou.
You know
He's
Lou.
Great, yeah.
And his grandfather worked on Mount Rushmore.
I didn't know that.
Living his and the way it's all stories.
Oh my!
It's all stories. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
All of that in just a moment. We're going to get to the people who've been presidents so far. Mm-hmm. But we have to start with someone who was not a president, but was very close to the longest presidency in history.
Should have been president.
I agree with you, my friend, that Eleanor Roosevelt would have been a wonderful president.
Well, yes, I agree with you on that one.
It's duly Eleanor's. This is my dream. Eleanor Roosevelt, amazing woman. And if you see the Ken Burns documentary that you and I are such fans of, the Roosevelts, you do come away with an even greater understanding and admiration for this woman.
She was so supportive of her husband, and at times when I don't know how she did it, because he didn't deserve her support personally. But, professionally, she knew she had to keep that stiff upper lip and be the good first lady. And she redefined the role of the first lady.
Absolutely. At a time when the roles of women, the possible life for a woman, was very different than what we have
much
today.
More limited than today.
Oh, yes. So do you think that stiff upper lip is why she talked like this? All right, I'm sorry. Cheap shot at Eleanor Roosevelt, an amazing woman and a wonderful song. Let's hear Eleanor.
The most important thing we can do is to see to it that we live for the cause of freedom and justice.
A child of misfortune had her share of tears, and losing both her parents taught her how to face her fears. So when this shy and simple lady became the president's wife, she found that helping other people brought purpose to her life. Casual and friendly, with a heart of gold, she brought her warm compassion to the lonely and the cold. Champion of the needy, strength in every word, she became the voice of others who were begging to be heard. And stand for the hungry and the homeless all across the land. Oh, Eleanor, it was not the life you planned, but you knew it made you happy to lend a helping hand. A most admired woman, she was Eleanor everywhere. She considered it her mission to show goodwill and care. And she went all around the world, not afraid to fight for the cause of every human, for the chance to make things right. And Eleanor always took a stand for the hungry and the homeless all across the land. Eleanor, it was not the life you planned, but you knew it made you happy to lend a helping hand. Though she had her share of broken dreams, Mrs. Roosevelt would live defending simple human rights with a heart that had to give. And Eleanor always took a stand for the hungry and the homeless all across the land. Eleanor, it was not the life you planned, but you knew it made you happy to lend a helping hand. Yes, you knew it made you happy to lend a helping hand.
The Philadelphia Orchestra supports XPN and presents Benjamin Britten's The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, March 14th. This piece introduces each part of the orchestra, strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion, one by one, to experience how each section is unique. More than 70 years later, audiences of all ages can explore and immerse themselves in Britten's music. Tickets are available at philorc.org.
Jonathan Sprout is here with me in the Kids Corner studio. We're celebrating President's Day by celebrating the presidents, and we got to start with number one, George Washington. Washington's hat is, well, it's infectious, I have to tell you, my songwriter friend.
You know, Kathy, I wrote this song before I knew I was writing about historical, factual heroes. I mean, it slipped in on my first Heroes album when I didn't know that I was going to be making more of them. You know, the first album was an experiment, and because of its success, I have since made 2, 3, and 4. And there are elements in me of regret that I fabricated that story, because I submitted it. You know, when you release a CD, you try to find places that will buy it so that you can sell it and make more CDs. And I had some feedback from some historians who said, you know, we have enough trouble trying to get the facts straight with George Washington. What are you doing writing this thing about this hat that didn't really exist? So I always preface when I do my show with George Washington with the information that the song has some truth in it, but it has some baloney in it, and let's just loosen up our reins a little bit and enjoy it as a fun song that's not completely accurate.
I love you as a historian, just as an honest human being, and as a songwriter who created something really fun. Here's Washington's hat.
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat.
I'm Christmas Day, 1776, General George Washington was up to his tricks. He had an idea, it would revolutionize the way to win the war with a secret surprise. He called his troops to the banks of the Delaware, put on a crazy hat, and let the soldiers stare. It was a silly secret weapon, but soon you'll see how a hat brought the colonies a victory.
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat.
They struggled with the boats, though it would have been nice if they had taken the bridge to avoid the ice. It was a Kodak moment, so a painter painted that while George stood tall in his silly hat. Then he said to the artist, "If you will, please paint my portrait for the dollar bill." That night, while the Hessians were turning and tossing, they should have looked for George at Washington Crossing.
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat.
At last they came to Trenton and divided into groups. George had given orders to surround the Hessian troops. That's when he went knocking on the Hessian general's door, who took a look at George's hat and laughed till he was sore. Powerless and giddy, this is what he said: "I cannot fight a man who's wearing that atop his head." And so he gathered his belongings after gathering his wits, gave his sword to George and said, "I call it quits. It's too cold and dark to fight," he said. "Besides, I'd rather chat. Now, what on earth possesses you to wear that silly hat?"
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat.
Washington leaned forward and whispered in his ear, "That's a military secret. I can't reveal it here." The Hessians thus surrendered, caught in George's trap. 'Twas a victory for the colonies and a feather in his cap.
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat.
George fought many battles. Everywhere he'd go, the enemy dropped their guns to tease him so. His silly hat befuddled them. All they ever did was double over, laughing, screaming, "Who's he trying to kid?" Later, in Yorktown, where the war was won, George tipped his hat and they cheered for what he'd done. It's been said he wore that chapeau everywhere he went. Some believe that's how he got to be the president. Father of our country, noble diplomat. Is it safe to say we're here today because of George's hat?
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat.
Now the moral of the story, in case you didn't know, it's okay to wear a silly hat when playing in the snow. And don't be too concerned about what others think and do, when you might have a better way of doing something new. Just think of General George and all the glory he begat. The man who crossed the Delaware beneath the silly hat.
Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat. Washington's hat, imagine that. Washington's hat. Joining me in the Kids Corner studio, it's Jonathan Sprout. He is the creator of the American Heroes CD series. You can learn all about it at johnsprout.com. That's JONSPROUT.com, which is COM. We got to talk about one of my favorite presidents, and maybe my favorite presidential birthplace, presidential home, not a birthplace, Monticello.
Right.
Love Monticello, love Thomas Jefferson, and some guy he was.
What kaleidoscopic. He, you know what a kaleidoscope is? You look through one of these things and you turn it, and it's all different stained glass windows and things. That's how I've heard him described. Sort of like a Renaissance man, but even more so. An expert in so many different arenas, architect, inventor, America's first wine connoisseur, the gardener expert. If you go to Monticello, you see all these beans and things that he's sort of invented.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can still get like heirloom seeds.
Yes.
From Thomas Jefferson's plants.
Right.
There's a desk that he invented at Monticello that is just incredible. And somehow also, I don't know if this is truth or legend, and this must be something you face all the time when you're creating your songs, is he had something to do with introducing macaroni and cheese to America.
New. That's new to me.
I heard that. We'll have to go look it up on the Magic Machine and find out. But, you know, and yet a very human man of his time.
Right.
He wrote against slavery. He wrote the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
And yet he owned slaves.
Yeah. Kathy, I mean, I won't go into the whole long story, but in his day, and I'm not trying to defend him, but people of his stature had to, if somebody came to your house, you had to open the door and entertain them. And they wouldn't come for just 2 hours. They would come for 2 weeks because of the modes of transportation, et cetera, et cetera. And so he was constantly having to entertain people. There were always people at his house, and he had to, of course, open up all the food pantries and feed everybody. And he ran out of money. And at the time of his death, he was something in the order of $100,000 in debt. And I have a feeling he would have loved to have freed his slaves, but they were, quote, property, and he owed money, and it just became very complicated. He gave away his books, which became the Library of Congress. And, I'm not forgiving him, but he didn't even free his slaves upon his death. And I think it had to do with paying off this debt.
We have such a concept of these mostly male figures in history, you know, the presidents, as these figures in stone, you know, literally with Mount Rushmore.
Right.
But not only were they flawed, but had serious problems. I think we all want to think, oh, well, yeah, Thomas Jefferson, everything went fine. He was Thomas Jefferson after all.
Right.
But that's the first time I've ever heard that he had such bad debt at the end.
Major debt.
I learned just from sitting in a room with you. Hey, would you do what he wrote and explain what he wrote?
Yes. And what I like to explain to children is that what he wrote did not just come out of his head all of a sudden. It was through a process of revising and editing and tweaking. And you are talking to Dr. Edit here. I am the guy who spends years before I'm happy with a song or happy with a show or whatever. I'm a perfectionist about it. And I think that most people who write great things, like Jefferson, wrote this Declaration of Independence and edited it a lot. It took him 2.5 weeks. Very close by to where we're sitting here in Philadelphia. And maybe many of our listeners have been to the Declaration House, which is adjacent to or close to the Betsy Ross House. And it's a beautiful place to go and learn about how somebody struggled with writing and yet came up with a masterpiece. 7th and Market Street, Philadelphia, PA. Second floor apartment, a hot summer day. Young Mr. Jefferson, thoughts swirling in his head, holds high his hopes and dreams that freedom isn't dead. History is on the brink. His pen dips into the ink. What he wrote, it was a declaration of an emerging nation. It was a declaration of an emerging nation. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal, and on it went. Life
liberty, the pursuit of happiness. He spelled democracy and nothing less. He made it crystal clear so all the world could hear what he wrote. It was a declaration of an emerging nation. It was a declaration of an emerging nation. Declaration of independence. Declaration of independence. Let justice kick the king out and send his troops away. Let freedom bells ring out our Independence Day. What he wrote, it was a declaration of an emerging nation. It was a declaration of an emerging nation. It was a declaration of independence. What he wrote.
Jonathan Sprout, about Thomas Jefferson. What I love is the picture you paint right from the beginning. You create a setting in our mind for this moment in history. And it's almost about the art, what he wrote, even more than the artist himself, Thomas Jefferson. I also love how you use his real words in there, how you weave them in as well.
Well, I learned after that George Washington song to write historically accurately. And
one of the things I learned from you is, boy, he wrote a lot of letters.
36,000.
Whoa.
Yep. And he licked all the envelopes and put on the stamps.
Oh.
No emails.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
No emails.
Yeah.
He personally killed the passenger pigeon. No, that's not true. I just see, it's very tempting to make stuff up.
He killed the passenger pigeon. Wait, that's not a song.
No, not yet, kids. JohnSprout.com is where you can find information about the American Heroes CD series. There are 4 in the series so far. Today, celebrating President's Day, we're talking and featuring some of the songs about presidents, but there's a wide variety of historical figures covered in the American Heroes series. And check it out. Really, really great. So, how inspirational is the person's life? And I'm thinking of Abraham Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Poor rail splitter, or is everything we know about Abraham Lincoln wrong, like it was about George Washington?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I've gotten through certain levels of research. I'm not the expert on this. I turn to the experts for these details, but I think we're pretty certain that he was a very decent guy who was fair, remarkably fair. I mean, the story about the book that he borrowed from a farmer and accidentally destroyed, I guess it was left out in the rain, and how he couldn't afford to pay back for the book, but instead worked for the farmer for 3 days to make up for the lack of that book. I'm sure that's a true story. And it's also an indication of his determination to be just and fair.
And it's something that came from within.
Yeah.
I guess, that's amazing. Before we hear the song, or All Across This Land, tell me a little bit about your research, about the kinds of research you go through to write the songs, to go from an idea or even just a name in history to a song.
There are a lot of steps involved. And one of the very first steps is for me to consult with a really great true historian, expert on heroes, whose name is Dr. Dennis Dennenberg, who lives in nearby Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And Dr. Dennenberg travels the country pretty much speaking to teachers about the importance of teaching about real heroes, not celebrities, real heroes. And so I check in with Dr. Dennenberg and I say, I'm thinking about so-and-so, and what would you think the angle should be? What should the approach be on this person? In one sentence, what should I be teaching children about this hero? And he'll often give me sort of an angle and a direction. And then I go and read and read and read. And I often go to the birthplaces and the sites where so-and-so battle was held or whatever. It's exciting. And you talk to the real experts. And then I write the song, and then I bring in my friend who you know well, who's become almost like a brother to me, my co-writer, Dave Kanoin. And Dave Kanoin will come in and say, John, you missed it on this one. We need to co-write this. And then Dave and I, so whenever you see that there are two of us who have written a song, it's because I didn't get it right the first time around. And so he will write it with me. And then we present it to Jimmy Hammer, who is sort of like, I call him the song doctor, who doesn't have the historical background, but has this song structure background. And he'll know if it's working or not. And if you see that the three of us have written the song, it means that he's listened to what Dave and I wrote and said, you guys need me on this. And so that often happens. These songs get torn apart and put back together again with the input of another person. And so it's a very elaborate, long process to make it not only historically accurate, to not only teach the right things, but to make it a decent song that can stand up on its own merits as a song.
Do you know what I'm thinking of while you were telling me that story is the movie Lincoln. And everything they had to go through and all the processes to get to the Emancipation Proclamation, and that things don't happen with just one person acting alone.
Oh, that movie, the Spielberg movie. Yes, you're right. And how he had to wait to present the Emancipation Proclamation till just the right time. He had to wait till after they sort of won a battle. Right? It was the Battle of Antietam. So it was all about timing and politics and trying to get certain people on board with the idea. And it was complicated. And that's kind of how my songs are.
Look how excited we're getting talking about history. Yeah. And I think that's what comes through in the songs as well. All across the land. Abraham Lincoln. Let's hear it.
Born on the frontier in a dirt floor cabin, a backwoods boy splitting rails into the night. Bony hands, piercing eyes, reading books by the candlelight. Tall on a platform, thousands before him, engaged in the great debate. He says slavery is evil, a monstrous injustice in the hands of hate. This is my proclamation. Here I make my stand. I will not rest until I see every slave is free all across the land. A sea of top hats on a Pennsylvania field. The president addresses a nation's pain. 47 years ago, Gettysburg was not in vain. Two weary generals shaking hands, one dressed in blue, one in gray. News of Appomattox spreads across the land. Then on the stage cracks a smile to say, this is my proclamation. Here I make my stand. I will not rest until I see every slave is free all across the land. Keep the Union strong, slavery is wrong. Abolitionists unite. Stop the Civil War, not fighting anymore. You know it isn't right for the North and South to fight.
stand. I will not rest until I see every slave is free. It was his proclamation. He made a stand. When he died, the nation wept, but his promises were kept all across the land. All across the land. All across the land. All across the land.
Jonathan Sprout singing about Abraham Lincoln all across this land. And you were telling me, while the song was on, you were telling me something really interesting about Abraham Lincoln.
Books, how ironic that he, if you add up all the days he went to school his whole life, it doesn't add up to a year, according to Lincoln, which he confessed later on in his life. So his access to knowledge was through reading. So he loved to read, and we all know stories about how we would read by the fire, etc. And now it's ironic that we love to read about him. And it's my understanding that he is the most written about human being on planet Earth in the last 2,000 years. That there are more books about Lincoln than about anyone else since Jesus.
Wow.
And do we know how many books?
A couple of hundred.
That would be a lot.
Yeah, really
It's
would.
a couple hundred more than there are books about me.
Yeah, same here.
But you can multiply that by 10 and double that. 5,000.
Wow.
That's what I've been told. Now, I'm not the, buck ends here historian, but I am under the impression that it's about 5,000 books written about Abraham Lincoln.
I've got one of them, so I can vouch for at least one. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
What a fascinating character.
Yeah, it had to have been about his honesty and his fairness.
Yes.
And how, I don't know, is it safe to say that he has shown the world that when you can be honest and fair, that your life will work better for you? Is it safe to say that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. That's good reason to be honest and fair.
To be honest and fair.
Right.
Love it. Oh, Jonathan Sprout is here. The series is American Heroes. Let's go back to the Roosevelts. Oh, how I am fascinated with this family. Well, I grew up on Long Island, and the Oyster Bay Roosevelts, and the Hyde Park Roosevelts. Oh, and part of my family, my mother's side, they're from Dutchess County, which is up where Hyde Park is, Dutchess County, New York.
Right.
So the Oyster Bay Roosevelts and the Hyde Park Roosevelts did not always get along, I must say, very much like the O'Connells. So I always kind of feel a certain kinship with the Roosevelts. And you wrote a song about Theodore Roosevelt.
I had mixed emotions about him because, he was a peacemaker. I mean, he won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yep.
But he also was a hawk. He was a war person who believed that, we need to get involved in World War I and this and that. And so he tugged at both ends of my peace, spectrum. And there are people who don't like what he did. But you know what? It's the truth about everybody. It's about Jefferson we talked about. You're never going to find a perfect hero. And that's part of the process of uncovering and learning about these people. But he definitely was somebody who, had a lot of amazing things going about him. And he wasn't afraid to dive in and try things. And if he failed, so be it. He learned from his failures. And I just admire him so much for that.
Theodore Roosevelt, Man in the Arena. Explain the title.
Okay. He gave a speech after he had left his presidency, gave a speech in Paris, or 1910, that we now refer to as the Man in the Arena speech. And essentially he said in that speech that the people we call heroes are the ones who aren't afraid to try. He had this great quote. Let me think if I can. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. So it's better to get in the arena and try your best to make your dreams come true and do what you want to do with your life. It's better to try and fail than never to have tried. And that was my take on the essence of his speech. So with that, Dave Canoin and I just ran off and basically paraphrased parts of it in the song and elaborated on the message.
Man in the Arena.
I don't care what the others say, I will always do what's right. I don't care how tough the challenge, I will hold my honor tight. No matter what the situation, I know what I must do. I will be brave and true as I live my life like the man in the arena, the one who gives it his all. Man in the arena, who boldly answers the call, the one who does his best because he's not afraid to fall. Man in the arena. Nobody cares how much you know till they know how much you care. Do what you can with what you have and be sure your heart is there. Something might be hard to do, but if it serves a worthy cause, proceed without applause, so you can live like the man in the arena, the one who gives it his all. Man in the arena, who boldly answers the call, the one who does his best because he's not afraid to fall. He knows the taste of sweat, his goals are firmly set, his passion leaves him no regrets. I'll be the man in the arena. The one who does his best because he's not afraid to fall. The man, I'll be the man. I'm not afraid to try, I'll keep giving it my all. I'll be the man. Oh, I'll follow my dreams and I'll be the man in the arena.
Jonathan Sprout singing about Theodore Roosevelt. I figured out what you remind me of, and it does go back to my favorite president was John F. Kennedy. And one of the things I was a little kid when he was elected president, and he excited me. And I remember reading the book and watching a TV show called Profiles in Courage.
Yep, me too.
And it was the stories of people who had to be the man in the arena, had to be the person who stood up for what was right. And I think that's who you shine a light on in the American Heroes series, is those Profiles in Courage, the stories. Where we go from there is up to us, but you really do point us in the direction of some fascinating characters.
Thank you for getting me.
Well, thank you for getting to Kids Corner on President's Day.
I'm honored.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Do you think there'll be an American Heroes 5?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have plans for it now. But I am in the process of writing books that correspond with the first 4 CDs. I think that's my next project because, as you can tell from this interview, I have so much information I've pulled together. And every time I go out and perform, and teachers come up to me and they tell me their stories. And so I'm gathering information about these heroes. So the books will sort of correspond with the CDs, elaborate a little bit more exactly about what we're talking about. Then maybe a 5th one, but we'll have to see.
I think I'm more excited about that than I would be about news of a 5th one. So this is great. Learn all about the American Heroes series at jonsprout.com. That's JONSPROUT.com. Jonathan Sprout, thank you so much.
Thanks, Kathy. We've known each other now for, do I dare say it?
30-ish years.
I'm going to say 35-ish.
It gotta be.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's amazing because I'm only 36 and you're 37.
I was just going to say, childhood friends.
I want to talk about somebody who was not a president, didn't live long enough to run for office, but you and I have a very personal connection to.
Yeah.
One of the songs on American Heroes 4 is about Samantha Smith. Would you talk about Samantha, please?
Oh, without getting choked up or with getting choked up? Because it's hard.
Yeah.
I still get choked up when I think about her life. And what our listeners don't know, which we have to tell them, is that you have, I'm envious. You met her.
I met Samantha Smith. Samantha Smith was a young girl from Maine who wrote a letter to the then premier of the Soviet Union,
Yuri Andropov.
And it was kind of reaching out and a peacemaking effort for which she got a lot of criticism, surprisingly enough.
Right.
And she was invited to visit the Soviet Union. She wrote a book about it. And she was on a radio show that I did called Kids America. So I got to meet her. And she was one of those people who just glowed. She was a typical American kid who was just a lot of fun. And she was there with her dad. She had a terrific family. And she was doing a TV series. She had really kind of become America's sweetheart because she was a wonderful, wonderful girl. And she and her dad were tragically killed in a plane crash.
Right.
But she really left an imprint on the world.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about Samantha and in the creation of your song about her.
And I tried writing about her 20 years ago. And, the song, I couldn't get it to the point where it was worthy of the person of Samantha. So I tabled it. And Dave Kanoyan, again, helped me with this one. And we came up with a song that I think not only honored Samantha, but is meant to inspire people who listen, children who listen. And it's about how, yes, it's a sad story. She wrote this peace letter and she went and visited and became she won the hearts of millions of people.
All over the world.
Yeah. And among the Russians and the Soviets too. And to this day, I'm squiggling on myself, but if you go to YouTube and you Google her, you'll see a lot of things written in Russian, singing her praises. I mean, they fell in love with her, and they were supposedly our enemies at that time.
Yeah.
So she helped to bridge that gap between one country and another that thought that we were enemies with each other. But I forget where I was going. But anyway, Dave helped me write this song, and it's about how one little letter and one little girl can turn out to be extremely powerful. And it was Dave who said to me, this story should be an empowering story. So we need to write a song called Powerful. And that's what we did. And that's our song about Samantha.
A 10-year-old girl from the state of Maine reads the scary news once her mom to explain about nuclear war. They say the USSR keeps building bombs that can travel as far. How come? And what on earth for? Why can't we get along together? Please write someone a letter. Powerful, powerful. Now it may be hard to see, but sometimes little things can be powerful. Her mom tells Samantha what she already knew. A letter would be better if it came from you. So she gathers her thoughts to say what she meant. She writes, I've been worrying it isn't right. Why do you want war? We should never fight. Off to Russia, the letter is sent. 4 more months go by. Patience, there is no reply. Powerful, powerful. Now it may be hard to see, but sometimes little things can be powerful. Peace can be grown from the tiniest seed and draw off rights back, and the world gets to read. Dear Samantha, we are just like you. We do not want war. We are peaceful too. Please be our guest and visit us here. There in the Soviet Union, Samantha's name becomes a symbol of hope. She finds worldwide fame. A girl on a quest, a peace pioneer. And as she makes her friends behind the Iron Curtain, she learns one thing is for certain. She is powerful. Powerful. Now it may be hard to see. Sometimes little girls can be powerful. Yeah, powerful. Now it may be hard to see. Sometimes little things can be. Now it may be hard to see. Sometimes little kids can be. Now it may be hard to see. Sometimes little kids can be. Now it isn't hard to see. Every little kid can be powerful. Yeah, powerful. Now it may be hard to see. Sometimes little things can be powerful.
I have a dream. My 4 little children one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
He was born a Georgia boy in 1929. When black and white were separate, he dared to cross the line. He watched as others called him by the color of his skin, and he knew he'd have to change things from the way they'd always been. So he raised his voice, and this is what he said: we have to change the world, change the world, change the world with our hearts. I have a dream. He led the way with freedom marches in the name of civil rights. There were those who tried to stop him when they blamed him for the fight. But every time he went to jail, he managed to survive, as Martin trusted righteousness to keep his dream alive. And when he raised his voice, this is what he said: what about my people? We have the right to stand tall. What about my people? We have to change the world. Change the world. Change the world with our hearts. It was an April night in Memphis when his life came to an end. Now millions speak the message of the man they call their friend. We shall overcome, because prejudice is wrong. The dream is still alive, someday we'll all get along. Though the man is gone, his voice is loud and clear. We have to change the world. Change the world. Change the world with our hearts. We have to change the world. Change the world. Change the world with our hearts. We have to change the world. Change the world. Change the world with our hearts. Then we'll be living Martin's dream. He had a dream.
Celebrating music for kids since 1988. It's Kids Corner.
Gaze up at the sky and wave his tiny arms as if he wanted to fly. People used to wonder, what does baby see? But who on earth could know little Neil would someday be first man on the moon. First man on the moon. He received his pilot's license the day he turned 16. Cotton candy clouds below his flying machine. They're shining on Ohio, hanging high above. That rock with all those craters he was always dreaming of. First man on the moon. 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 He was a brave Navy pilot. He was only 20. Studied flight engineering, and he learned plenty. Took a job at NASA, flying every kind of plane. did all that he'd been taught. He did the work to become an astronaut. Commanded Gemini above the atmosphere. All for Apollo. All for Apollo.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It was 1969, 250,000 miles away. An earthling on a ladder chose the words he would say. Life on our blue marble would never be the same. We all grew a little closer the moment he became first man on the moon. 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 On the moon.
That's one small step for man. Giant leap for mankind.
He was the first man on the moon.
That does it for tonight's Kids Corner. Remember, you can enjoy the music of Kids Corner whenever you want, anytime, any place. It's the Kids Corner Music Channel, and you can listen to it on our new website, kidscorner.org. Kids Corner is engineered and produced by Robert Drake. I'm Kathy O'Connell. Have a good night. Have a safe night. Please, let's all be kind to each other. And we'll see you next time right here on Kids Corner.
This is 88.5 WXPN HD1 Philadelphia, 88.7 WXPH HD1 Middletown, 91.9 WXPJ HD1 Hackettstown, 90.5 WKHS Wharton, and streaming at xpn.org. Member-supported radio from the University of Pennsylvania. Last night you dreamt that you were swimming outside the house where you were raised. Every intersection flooded, nearly washed away your name. See, there's a wind that's gonna change you, forces felt but never seen, till it stains you where you're standing. Nobody's getting out clean. Stay close to me. Stay close to Now you see the storm is normal. Now you see the wave is true. When you soak it in your best clothes, salt water pooling in your shoe. You can scream, look about statistics. Skew the numbers, slant your rhymes. Not even keel ain't realistic. Yeah, you can feel it all. Sometimes stay close to me. Stay close to me. Stay close to me. Stay close to You know there isn't anyone ever gonna be right. You can say it with a straight face. You can wait around all night. You can only see what people show you. Sometimes it's all you're gonna get. So come on now, stay close. Ain't no time yet. Stay close to me. Stay close to me. XPN, fun will be had this Friday when that guy takes the stage for Free at Noon, Philly's own Maxwell Stern, who a lot of folks I think got to see for the first time at our festival back in September. And Mac's going to join us this Friday for our free midday concert. And hey, we still have room for you. If you want to join up and come on out for the show, xpn.org. You can just click Tell Me More, and some more info on that in just a moment. But stay close to me. Starting the local show tonight on XPN, I'm Mike Vasilikos, hanging out with you till 10 o'clock tonight. We got a lot of new Philly stuff to share. We'll preview tomorrow night's sold-out Homegrown live show with Fat Mez and Tay Vista and Polaroid Fade, which will be a lot of fun. And we got a bunch of new music to look forward to, all on the way as we do 2 hours of homegrown music tonight on XPN. Your local Ford store supports XPN, committed to a brighter, cleaner future. Introducing a full lineup of all-electric vehicles like the Ford F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E. The Ford Power Promise program recognizes for EV owners much of their electric charging happens at home. To help ensure their day starts with the charge needed, Ford can provide home charging equipment and installation. Details at ford.com/electric. Experience live music every Friday as XPN plays host to Free at Noon. This week from World Cafe Live in Philly, it's a hometown performance with Maxwell Stern. Stay close to me. A highlight of last year's Exponential Music Festival, Philly singer-songwriter Maxwell Stern takes center stage this Friday at Free at Noon. Ships in the night, chasing the light, how'd you find me? To RSVP for this week's show, go to xpn.org and click Tell Me More. You can listen live on your radio or on the XPN app. Support for Free at Noon comes from Xfinity, Rafferty Subaru in Newtown Square, and Juke, XPN members. All right, coming up, going to play you a tune from the Gloucester City Rockers, the Warhawks, who are actually going to be in Manayunk later this week. And here's something from a record which came out late last year from the Philly band Looser. Lonely Century is the album, and the lead track from it is called Lonely Century Boy. It's here on the local show at XPN. could help it but feel bored in the loneliest century. Did you meet your dreams when your rent came around again? Did you get anywhere in your car Didn't know it that your head could be so disconnected. You could help it but feel dumb in the age of perfection. Did you flee the scene till your world spun around again? Doesn't seem like you made it too far They used up everything and now she's on to a bed.